All right, welcome back to Back Society. I'm the co-host here with my other co-host,
S.
and of course, you know the other one.
See money.
So, just before the show started, S is talking about more disclosures, more aliens. You know, there's just things out there, with the Anunnaki, Nibiru is just right around the corner. We're going to discover it, and it's going to happen. Planet X, the Great Flood, it's alien. Chariot of the Gods, biography.
But hold on though. The Great Flood is a story all around the world.
It's a very popular thing. Floods happen. People grandize it a lot.
Mhm.
Hold on, but we're talking about a grand flood that wipes out civilization all
Yeah,
No,
around
no,
the
no,
world.
no.
Floods have
We
wiped
talk.
out-
We're talking about floods that wiped out civilizations by rivers.
Okay.
All
volcanic
civilization-
activity.
But they all-
the
but-
Minoans.
But they all have the common theme, right? The common story. The God
It
was mad.
It saved life.
God was mad. Make a boat because we're flooding the civilization.
Yeah.
Japan
The
has it.
question is, when did they come up with these stories? Right? Can you trace all of them back to Gilgamesh, or not?
Gilgamesh might be the first one.
Gilgamesh's epic the Great Flood is kind of like a footnote in the whole like craziness that was going on in that entire epic. There was a lot of
But
things
you can trace a lot of that back because it was so much earlier than the rest, where they believe that story had time to permeate and kind of spread throughout the early civilizations.
Okay, I'll give you that, right? But Gilgamesh was translated from the Sumerian tablets, right?
Yeah.
Have you guys ever seen this? This is me being a skeptic, but have you guys ever seen the Sumerian tablets?
Yeah.
Have you seen they're called their cuneiforms or whatever?
Cuneiform, yeah, they're like chicken scratches.
How in the world can you be like, that's a word right there, or that's an A right there, that's a B? Like, how can you tell? How can you tell? How in the world can you sit there and say you could get something from that?
Well, I'm not specifically sure how they translated cuneiform. I know how they translated, like Egyptian. The thing is, like, a lot of those ancient writings, they're not writing as we think about it, Some of those like scratches are representative of something, not necessarily like a letter or something. They're not a full sentence as we believe them to be. These are early forms of writing, you got to know.
Right.
A lot of that writing morphs and then becomes a different language, which you can trace down to, let's say, Sanskrit or Egyptian, Coptic. Greek Coptic is still spoken, but it's derived from the Egyptian language,
Okay. Well, all I'm saying is like, we're starting to find out through the power of the internet that a lot of stories around the world are all similar with one another, right?
Yeah, there's interconnectivity there.
Yeah. Even with like let me pull up some of my notes real quick. There's a Sumerian king that has the same exact story as Moses. Born by a peasant or by a priest lady or whatever, or somebody, and then put in a basket and thrown to the river.
Cyrus the Great.
Cyrus
the Great, he's Persian.
So like, what? Like,
there's also this guy named Jesus who's very similar to like characters like Hercules and other.
Krishna, he's got like the same born, origin story as like some of their other gods on the eastern side, like Krishna.
But isn't it more simplistic to just say like, hey, maybe this is just a common theme throughout the human psyche that we want these people to be divine?
Side note: Cyrus the Great was also considered a messiah at some point.
Isn't he the first one?
He was the first one because he ended the Babylonian exile.
Yeah.
So but there's connections here though, right?
Yeah, the connections are like, this is a theme, but like I think the whole problem is people are looking for something greater than what it really is. When really it's just a theme of stories that have evolved over time, and we just see these like things just repeated over and over again because that's what people want to be true, because that's what we as humans
get
we
what you're saying.
desire.
And we
I
all
get what you're
and people
saying.
back then often attributed natural disasters to, a wrath. of
Yeah, there was no
someone.
science.
Yeah. I
But
mean,
then-
like, look at like the Aztecs and stuff. If there's a famine, what do? Sacrifice them to please the gods. The gods.
Now, when
But-
you start saying like, "Hey, there's these gaps in the history," and they start like creating medicines and understanding like plants, like then it's like now there's these gaps are like kind of harder to explain. But I think the like the godlike things, that's just easy stuff. That's just what people want to be. It should be the science part where people kind of focus, right? Like, how did they get such a great understanding of like astrology and things like that? Astronomy, not astrology.
Well, yeah. Well, so like the theory.
That's
is,
you gotta focus in certain
Right.
areas. Like, don't worry about these like myths and these epics. Focus on the things that you can like prove where there's like, hey, like this doesn't really make sense. We know they're really good at it, but like, how did they get good at it?
So like with astrology, right? It comes with the fact that we die, like our max life is 120 years old, right? There's a certain chromosome that we have in our DNA, and the telomeres are capped at the telomeres are capped.
Who are you talking to?
The telomeres
The
are capped
telemarketers.
at 120.
Someone's trying to sell life insurance.
But so like they have like there's this thing called like the great year or whatever, that the earth goes through all the constellations in 26,000 years or something.
No, I'm not familiar with that.
Sure.
Well, there's a great year where the earth's axis is pointed to each constellation, and it goes through each age at like, I think each age is like 2,500 years or something. So you have to have somebody that lived longer than like 20,000 years to actually sit there and watch the skies.
Or maybe they just use math.
But
Maybe
The
they could
thing-
trace it back.
here's the thing though, like, I mean, you could probably use math, but it would take longer to understand that
Or
the earth
kept
wobbles
detailed
on a tilt.
records.
But how? Yeah, but I know. But here's the records. What I'm trying to.
Why do
tell
you have to have one? Why do you have to have one person that lived that
Well,
long?
it doesn't. Well, because people die and then information gets.
Yeah, but if
law.
none of you're good at like keeping records, and like I think also like we underestimate the power of like oral tradition back in those days, because that's all they had. So they had people whose jobs it was, they were designated to keep that information.
Yeah, like oracle or something.
Or
Oracles, I mean,
Or
monks,
sages.
the scribe.
Yeah.
The elders.
the scribe,
Honor to elders.
like it's like when that's all you got, that's all you got. So you got to have a way of actually like preserving this stuff that's so sacred.
But
you
most of
know?
the
It doesn't
oral,
make sense not to.
but most of the oral traditions that we have now, it's like myths.
Those are myths, but those aren't like facts, like in science.
So how can you say like for them that it will be true, and then for us
Because
it
it's
will be fake?
science. Because it's science.
But science in itself is kind of like a
But just
religion.
think about it. Think about how we treat it nowadays. You don't believe science until you see it written, or there's studies, or like there's like this like previous history and precedent. But for religion, it is a faith that it happened, and it seems so outrageous. There's no proof. Where for like astronomy, all they had to do was look up. They just had to look at the stars.
For thousands of years.
Yeah, they looked at it for thousands of years. They were around for thousands of years.
I mean, like looking at the sky is the basis for a lot of.
Yeah.
You know.
Isn't
But
it
how
easier to
can
look
you-
at the
how-
stars than to like believe that like one dude did this 5,000 years ago?
So
But what I'm-
constellations.
But what I'm saying is like, so the
I mean,
Earth is
constellations
tilted.
to me are BS anyway.
I
So
know they don't look like it. Orion's.
No, but
it doesn't make
kind of
it doesn't make sense.
The constellations are the patterns.
Meaningless.
No,
It's just patterns that we've discerned.
yeah, but it tells you like what part we're facing at the time. right? It's a map. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if you're studying the stars, I mean,
Yeah, and then you can navigate. Look, I watched Moana. I thought it was really good. It's true though. That's how they navigated though. The Peloponnesians were expert navigators. People didn't believe that they took their boats all the way to America, and they did.
I thought they were Polynesian.
Is that when I said? Did I say Peloponnesian?
Polynesian, yeah.
I watched the second 300 yesterday.
the rise of the empire.
I'm just saying. I think that there's like that. Yeah, I mean that's how we like identify the skies. But also, man, I don't know. I feel like they put so much study into the stars. It's harder to disprove a lot of that stuff. And I think that a lot of that stuff, because it repeats itself every so often, it's easier for them to like validate, hey, this is real, right? Because the further you move away from one story, it gets harder to validate. But for astronomy and stuff like that, and because seasons are cyclical, like everything's so cyclical, they
Yeah.
go, oh yeah, I did hear this. This makes sense. And then they could expound upon what had happened in the past from what they knew. Where like a story like the Great Flood, you can't expound upon that because it's never going to happen again.
You got your computer up? Hold on,
Yeah, of course I do. I'm on it right now. This is how we're recording.
Did you
The-
did you Google what great flood ever happened again? Google. Actually, go to Chat GPT. Ask that.
because I don't think. All right, so a great year it takes 25,800 years, right?
Okay.
Where the what is that? Where I just woke up, so my brain is still kind of not working.
Understand.
Because it explains the tilt of the Earth's polar axis remains constant something. So like each time the axis is tilted, it points to a part of the constellation. That I mean, like I don't know what you mean by you don't believe in the constellations. They're just using it as like a map in the sky. I think you're muted.
Oh no, he's muted.
I don't think they have meaning.
I don't think I mean like I don't think they have meaning neither. There's just they would say we're in the age of what's a constellation of Pisces right now,
Age of Aquarius.
right? Because that's what they see in the sky. And then once the earth keeps rotating or whatever, then the sky stars are in a Taurus. And you're like, "Oh, we're in the age of Taurus right now." That's what I mean. And it takes
Also, the great year comes from Plato, which is interesting.
I mean, Plato did say a lot of shit that people take for fact.
Also known as the Platonic year.
he didn't
Named
I
it
mean
after himself. Awesome. Great
Plato
stuff.
got a lot of
Yeah.
his things, but Plato got a lot of his things from
Like
other
these
philosophers.
the Platonic solids. Just ask your boy Terry Howard about that. Oh my god, dude. The stuff that man said. Oh my god. They just destroyed him. I mean, yeah, let him. Yeah, he wants to be remembered for being crazy.
He's look. The first two letters of his name is TE. Who also shares that for their last name? Tesla. That's what I'm saying.
Boom.
Oh,
Reincarnation.
It's just coincidence,
but he got most of his information from that one guy, right? What was that one guy's name?
Yeah,
talking about Plato?
Russell.
Oh.
No, something Russell, right?
Russell Walton or something?
Walter Russell?
That sounds kind of right. And then
Yeah,
and then
the crazy dude, the artist.
but Tesla said, "Hey,
I looked that up, and that is incredibly disputed.
how is it? No, it's not. Stop it."
Because one, Tesla died penniless and with nobody around, so nobody knows what he talked about.
Yeah, if Tesla actually was like legit in what he was saying, he would have been on the Titanic.
What?
You never heard about that conspiracy with JP
You-
Morgan?
Yeah.
He was the one that shut down his Tesla stuff.
How the turntables have turned.
Turned.
And I know you
Again.
heard of that theory, dude.
No, I haven't heard of that theory.
That JP Morgan set up all of his enemies to go in the Titanic. He was supposed to go in the Titanic and canceled at the last minute.
I don't know, man. All I know is them two, they lived to get in the same era. So obviously they knew one
Not
other,
obviously. That no. Don't say that.
I lived in
but-
this.
I mean you can Google
I
it,
live in the same era as Michael Jordan, and we don't obviously know each other.
but you're not also a
I
basketball
talked to him
player.
last week.
We're also not what?
A basketball player.
Yeah, but he also wasn't a scientist. He was an artist.
He put out more books on like being a scientist than artists. There's a lot of look at Da Vinci. He was an artist.
L. Ron Hubbard put out a lot of books about science fiction.
And he was mixed up with a rocket
The
scientist.
Ancient Aliens dude put up more books about aliens than he did sports.
Like, what are we talking here? You're just making up like hypotheticals and just making all these connections that are meaningless.
No, because if you Google Tesla and Walter Russell, it says Tesla knows his work. That's what he said.
And what was the what's the source?
Google?
What's the source?
Google?
Google AI.
What's
You're
the
t-
actual source?
Oh my God. Are you what's the actual source of you can say that about everything.
Yeah, you can say that about everything.
Dude, I hate
And then you can understand the credible sources.
his name was Walter
Walter
Tesla
Russell.
and Walter Russell.
Yeah.
And you're gonna get some crazy the first thing that pops messy Nessie Chic.
First thing that came up was r/Nikola Tesla. Tesla told him, bury your findings until
Bury your findings until humanity is ready or whatever.
It's deep. Walter Russell, the GOAT, quite literally. Good.
Don't sit there and tell me nah. Don't sit there and tell me nah.
I mean, I see the messy Nessie cheek.
Bro, there's not one source. It's literally just Redditors.
All right, hold on.
No.
Nah,
No.
hell no.
Hold on.
There is a forum post on physics forums,
Physics?
but the guy's
What does
using
that
a
say?
source. The dude's using
And-
a Facebook source.
Hold on, but what year is that? 2018, right? That's before
Yeah.
Yep.
2018.
It's before what?
Terrence
Before
Howard.
Terrence Howard?
Yeah.
Exactly. Where do you think he got it all, bro? He was probably just browsing the internet and was like, "Oh my god."
He probably did, but all I'm
Holy
saying, but that's not
shit.
the
You know
argument,
You
right?
know what my biggest gripe about this whole thing is like clearly humanity is not ready. How come we know about this?
But it says they respected
Mm.
each other's work and shared similar
Who is
interests.
saying that?
That's what it says on the physics forum.
Do you know what a forum is? I'm gonna go post right now. You're wrong. He did not.
Oh, see, then that's what it says
You
then.
can't necro.
Now who's right?
Fibonacci and everything.
Like, unless it came from like Tesla's diary or
Which was
recorded conversation.
I mean, you
But
can say,
exactly. Then how would you know?
you're right.
Then how would you know?
You're right. But you can say that on anything past like the 1950s, right?
Yes, you can, and you can make up shit that isn't true just to make connections. How come when we disprove it that way, you're like, yeah, well, but when you want to prove it that way, you're like, well, of course.
Because the
how
connection
come
has
you're
already
right there,
been made
Baz?
in the past. That's what I'm trying
No, it
to tell you.
hasn't.
Yes, bro. What are you talking?
Just because it happened in 2018. Okay, keep going on the list. Give me the years. Give me the years.
I mean, I'm just saying, what are history books then? Right? You could disprove
Except history,
everything.
that's pure
You could disprove,
by
what are historians then? You could disprove all of them. by your
Yeah.
logic.
Well, theoretically, but if you pull from a primary source, like primary sources are a thing. Like everybody says this quote exists, but it cannot say where it comes from.
And I understand that.
So then how do you know it's not made up? Quotes are misattributed to people all the time.
All I'm saying
It's
is
unfortunately true.
them two met or did something. They know each other's work.
And also,
right?
people try to disprove
How do you know?
historians' work constantly. Like, very few I would say, like, very few historians haven't gotten anything wrong before. It happens all the time. You know, new information comes out there, and people have to redo their formula. I mean, like, I would say the most infallible one is, like, you know, the great Zahi Hawass. He's never wrong, but but look, that's just what happens when evidence comes out. You know, you just have to redo your formula. But the problem is like if it's peer reviewed and accepted, it's not always accepted at first. Yeah, you're right. You could be right on that one, but there's generally evidence, is what I'm saying.
But all the evidence is classified.
Well, then how would you know
about it?
How does anybody know that Tesla even existed?
Because he had.
Because there's birth
didn't even-
records. There's records of it happening.
There's
pictures
a
of
he does have a birth certificate. You're right.
There's
Maybe.
newspaper articles.
AC is attributed to him. There's like paper trail of Westinghouse acquiring the AC current.
How do we know that was Tesla? That could have been
Patents.
somebody else.
Patents.
Well, Tesla never patented it.
See?
I'm just saying, like anything. Like that's how you know
he
he
did.
existed.
He did patent it, and then he sold it for
Yeah.
$1 to Westinghouse.
Plenty. Yeah. Because he didn't really believe in like hoarding that
Yeah.
kind of like you know, he patented to make sure like, you know,
He believed in
it
humanity.
was legit. Yeah.
I actually have an 1899 poster of the Chicago World's Fair where he lit up the city.
Dude, we can fight this all day.
I
You
know.
are gonna lose.
I know.
And you're gonna lose.
No,
He also has
there's
a
no
grave.
way. There's no way, dude. There's no way. Like, I mean, because, like, if you are somewhat in that field, right? Like minds are going to attract like minds. I mean, like, especially in that type of field. Like, most people in like a physics field or a scientific field, they know or study each other's work because it helps them elevate their work.
Well, yeah, I mean, people like to cooperate. Look at like the very famous conference of like where Einstein was with all the other physicians. But I just don't know. I mean, like, there's no real evidence that they really knew each other. Besides,
Okay, they
Jesse
didn't
Sheet.
know each other. They didn't know their work. They didn't know.
I mean,
their work.
they could have been aware of each other because he's like, oh yeah, that's an artist. Yeah, he has some cool concepts. but
you
nobody's
can't-
like-
But you can't just put that guy in a box. Too
Who?
the artist. You can't just say
You
"Oh, he's
didn't
an
even
artist."
know about him until Terrence Howard, brother.
No, I didn't. But I'm just saying you.
If he was so big and so influential, how come nobody has really ever heard of him? If Tesla knew him, everybody knows who Tesla is.
Does everybody know who Tesla is?
I know who Tesla
Yes.
is.
Tesla was.
Everybody
I
on
mean,
the screen
Tesla was awesome.
knows who Tesla is.
But they-
100%
but
of the people I'm polling right now know who Tesla is.
God, that
But
is a
when did
flashback.
Tesla started getting big though? It wasn't until really like the past like 10, 20 years.
Tesla got big
No,
when he invented AC? Again, he was invited to light up the Chicago World's Fair.
He was.
But then they
what are
tried.
you talking about?
But they tried to they tried to like get rid of him, and they put
Thomas Edison, of course he did, because he was incredibly greedy. Like the suppression of Tesla has nothing to do with his relationship with Walter Russell.
But I'm just saying they could have suppressed him too.
Because, or maybe he was just wrong and nobody bought off on his theories, and he just kind of faded into obscurity. And then people who think that they're smarter than everybody else were like, "Oh, this guy's onto something. Everything's waves. Everything's vortices." Bro, give me a break. There's no straight lines. Did you know that? You're not gonna believe this. The fact that they even try to use a straight line in a periodic table just to denote different sections of the table is
Wrong.
ridiculous. It's wrong. If you just change the tune or tone or whatever he said.
But that's a real thing though. That
I
is a
haven't
real
seen it.
thing.
Really?
I mean, like,
I mean, everything is vibrating.
Yeah, but just because you change the frequency of something doesn't mean you're going to change its actual physical composition. You need to get on my vibration now. Are you going to change? Are you going to become me?
Oh, I don't know. You probably have a unique vibration.
I'm just saying, but there's only so many frequencies.
I mean, like, a lot of the noise that comes from space is radio frequency. How do we not know that the source isn't a radio itself?
No, you want to know something that's crazy? Is the one electron theory.
What is that?
Yeah, what was that?
That every electron in the universe is the same electron.
Oh.
Because they've never been able to identify an electron that has any different type of physical or characteristics different than another electron. They're all exactly the same.
That just went.
How is that
right
possible?
over my head. That's crazy.
Look up something that's interesting. The one electron theory is wild.
Tell me about this chromosome thing you were telling me about yesterday, Scott.
Oh yeah. What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
what is that?
Yeah, Anunnaki or
Yeah, so like chromosome 2, right? I guess that's like where the missing link would be, because they like that they say that is what separates us from the primate species, right?
Okay.
Where that chromosome is able for us to generate, having a what's that thing in the front of your brain, the cortex?
frontal lobe is in the front of your brain.
What's the one that gets you to think though? The frontal lobe is more like a instinctual, right?
The frontal lobe is more like control over your
the control.
neocortex and
Okay,
stuff.
yeah. Then it's the frontal lobe. It's like the proteins that are able to generate or whatever the inner beings of man, pretty much. And they say like it was either, there's the theory that it was fusion together, but then most people are saying no, it was manipulated.
What?
That it was manipulated or something.
The chromosome 2?
Yeah.
So, let's say if it wasn't manipulated, what
We'll be apes.
we be okay. So
Yeah.
apparently, that is the missing link. Okay, so chromosome 2 was manipulated by what? Who knows? Perhaps
Nobody knows.
nobody knows. But that is
But doesn't it? I'm
started
just
the
reading right now that
movement.
it's in chimpanzees, chromosome 2 is nearly identical to humans.
Yeah. But it was manipulated so we can be us, humans. There's a big debate about it, as you can tell.
With Walter Russell and who?
Tesla. Them too, man. They're the Avengers, bro.
They are the Avengers, man. This is a movie everyone needs.
I guess I'm just not
As soon as they say we need
you're losing me
backup,
on you're losing me on
Einstein.
this one, dude. I think you're going down the Terrence Howard rabbit hole.
It is interesting. The podcast at least was interesting. Not that I bought it, but like it was still interesting.
He repeated himself so much, I just lost interest. I was like, this guy, he's just using these terms that he thinks are incredibly smart to make himself seem smarter than he really is. If I had to hear platonic solids over and over again, the whole time, every time he said platonic solids, I was like bartsabrel.com, right? Like, it's the same with like that guy on Joe Rogan.
Right.
But I mean, like the thing with Terrence
And vortices, the world is
the thing with Terrence Howard too is like he could be smart in that field, but he'll always be labeled as an actor. Just like Walter Russell will always be labeled as a painter. You have all these people. I don't understand why people only put like certain people in a box, like how they make their money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I said, Da Vinci, he was an artist, he was an inventor. Some of these smart people, they're geniuses in other fields.
Yeah. But like they were able to prove, like Da Vinci had proof. He could actually draw. He could actually invent. He actually understood
But
math.
but
And
here's the thing
there's
though,
actual written evidence of it.
but in the time that they were in, obviously, you
All of the other people's is just ideas. They can't prove any of it. It's just an idea.
it was just an idea for the bomb and
No,
Oppenheimer.
they proved it.
Yeah, but they were all theories. They were all theories
That they proved.
exactly until the government came down and said, "Nah, you need to make this theory happen." And they all came together and they made it happen. You could do
So
the
they
same.
made,
You could do the same thing, probably. If they were like, "Here, you have all the resources that you need. You have to
or
make,"
maybe you can't.
or then maybe you can. But if the theory's there, a lot of like theories.
Aren't provable because they're not real. You're telling me of all the people that have existed since then, and of all the crazy people who want to do something new, nobody has tried to prove these theories? Not one.
I mean, like listen, all right.
The dude tried to say gravity's not real.
Well, I can't smell it. I can't touch it.
That's true.
See it.
That's like air, but you know it's real.
Does air exist?
Yeah, but he said gravity's not real.
He said it was a side effect, right?
He said I'm gonna disprove gravity.
That's what
And they're mad at me.
Yeah.
Like
They
you
said-
can't have it
he
both
did
ways.
say, I'm gonna kill their god, gravity.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
He did say that.
But he also did kind of call it a side effect. He's like, it seems like gravity.
Yeah.
Like to me, that's just flat Earth theory, just in a different way.
This man is going to be the most livid man in the afterlife when he passes away, and his tombstone just says Terrence Howard, actor.
Yeah, I'm telling you, bro. People wanna he wants to when you're here, you want to make an impact on the world, but you gotta go through a lot of like obstacles. You gotta keep
I
pushing.
think he's just. I think he's just mad he lost his Marvel deal, dude.
I mean, I'd be kind of pissed off too if I was him, because it was just I mean, did
Okay.
anyone see what was going to become after Iron Man? I didn't.
I don't
Also, you know what though? Maybe he's a smart dude. Maybe he's just misdirected because he wants to prove something just to prove it. And
Could
what
be
better
so-
way than proving that everything you know is wrong?
Could be psyoped.
Also, have you ever seen the dude that he references a few times that did that thing with Saturn or whatever? I can't remember
Yeah.
the dude's name. The picture of him is like, it's just like a dude. He's like a LARPer, right? He thinks he's like a medieval knight kind of guy.
I don't know
He's a
who this
crazy
is,
person.
but I already like him.
He has like zero credentials. He's just a dude.
I don't know who this guy is, but I want to know.
I can't remember. Oh my god! Hold on. All right, keep talking. I'm gonna find this guy.
I think you know what though, the education system is not really I don't think you
Oh,
really
here we
need-
go. Let's go down. Let's go.
Yeah,
Sure,
Let's
it's like there was like in the mid 2010s, even like early 2010s, there used to be like forum posts and like someone going like a popular forum like Cracked or something, if you remember them, like College Humor. And
Oh,
they would
yeah,
post,
yep.
and there was like one copy pasta called Je suis here or something like that. And he would be like, I am messaging you from the year 200,800 AD. It is curious how you are using the death of one man to determine your time. And people, there would actually be some people going like, "Is this guy real?"
No,
Is-
because if you're so far ahead, you wouldn't even know how to use primitive like technology like
There's been
Reddit.
old like 4chan things of guys who are like claiming to be time travelers and shit all the time.
Yeah,
And
like the dude who goes into the back in the with the Beatles. What's the Beatles thing? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It's like the unreleased Beatles thing or whatever.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Ugh.
I love those things, dude. They make the world seem brighter.
And then they just disappear.
Vanished. Probably in Area 52.
They
Bro.
say the new Area 51 is Huntsville, Alabama.
Why?
Why? Why, dude?
That's where they do all the anti-gravity stuff.
There's a lot of stuff in Huntsville.
I just can't imagine sending to a place where you'll have all the true believers, right in their backyard.
I just man. Like there's one thing I believe is that we're not alone in this world. Everything else is BS, dude.
Yeah.
It's just everybody trying to explain their surroundings and everybody wanting to be right.
But
They
I mean,
also
the whole,
want attention,
but
too, for it.
but that's the thing, right? Like when you keep an open mind, you just like you don't hold on to anything. You just hear it out.
There's
Like,
a
you're-
difference between having an open mind and then questioning things and being a skeptic.
No,
I
you
think
should
being
always question
skeptical is
things.
fine.
You should always question things.
Yeah, but you're taking what these guys are saying as fact. You're not questioning any of it.
Who, me?
Yeah, you literally earlier were like, they lived in the same time. How could they not know each other?
Because
The question
they're-
is, how could you? They weren't in the same field. They weren't in the same field. The question should be,
It says it.
who? What says it?
The internet.
Exactly.
But bro, I mean, if they are studying in the same field, the same
They're not
thing,
studying.
they
There's
live
one
in-
guy who actually created technology that's been a useful benefit to mankind, and then there's an artist who had some crazy ideas.
Where have we heard an artist having crazy ideas before?
Oh my god. If they are studying electrons,
They're not. They're not. He's not studying anything. He just came up with ideas. He didn't study anything.
I mean, it's
You're saying this guy, Walter Russell, a mystic and author, lectures, writing.
Mystic. That was number one. Boom. You lost. You just lost. You just lost.
What's wrong with mystics?
dude, it's bullshit. It's like
How?
astrology, dude.
Bro,
It's mysticism, bro.
isn't mystics
literally-
when like science and religion mix?
It's more like religion than anything.
It's like
it's more just
science
like
and-
BS.
So you're saying like shamans aren't mystics?
I mean, I'm not gonna. If
Are
I
you
get
s-
sick, I'm not going to a shaman.
Yeah.
What?
I mean,
Bro,
like you
are
could
you
say
kidding
like
me?
Russell and Tesla, because Russell had some, interest in physics. That
Hold on though. Hold on though.
Met Tesla and said, "Hey, I'm your biggest fan," or something like that. I mean,
Aren't
there's
but
been crazy coincidences out there of people actually like being near each other and yet having an impact in the world. Like, look at 1913 Vienna. At one point in the city of Vienna, Hitler, Trotsky, Tito, Freud, and Stalin all lived there in one place. So it's possible.
But hold on, aren't mystics like they're like maybe my definition of a mystic is different because like I thought these were like shamans, like they were like in tune with nature and stuff like that.
I mean,
Like these are the people that hold the oral traditions. That knew like plants, what plants to use and stuff like that.
yeah, shamans are like early.
And you're gonna
doctors,
sit
but
there and
it's
tell me
fine.
that
Here's
it's not-
here is the definition of mysticism. Belief that union with or absorption into the deity or the absolute or the spiritual apprehension of knowledge inaccessible to the intellect may be attained through contemplation and self-surrender.
So put it in layman's terms for me.
You got to give yourself to the to something more than yourself if
Yeah.
you want to get smart.
You basically have to pray to the spirit to give you knowledge.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I don't know. I don't know.
Mysticism is popularly known as becoming one with God or the absolute, but may refer to any kind of ecstasy or altered state of consciousness which is given a religious or spiritual meaning.
So you're saying no?
you want to give it another go? Like,
Because
don't
I mean,
understand.
like, what do you call the? That's just like saying Christians, right?
Yeah, well, there is a thing called Christian mysticism. Yeah, that's a thing,
So how can you
and
say all
they're
the people?
usually
They usually don't work out, like praying to
yeah,
God to cure their kid's
pray the gay
cancer or
away, baby.
something. Pray the gay
But hold
away,
on
yeah.
though. How can you say all these people that think there's a higher being than them, and then you're gonna say that they're wrong?
No. It's not about that. It's about becoming one with a higher power in order to unlock all knowledge. Is what a lot of it is. It's about praying for the answer.
Well, I mean, like, how many scientists or whatever they believe in, like, the getting the answer from, like, obtaining, like, an alternate consciousness, like
5%. It's probably minimal.
what? Didn't we talk about what about Thomas Edison or Da Vinci? Da Vinci would like study a candle, or he would meditate in front of a candle to get like knowledge or something. Isn't that like the same thing?
No,
Or
that's him
or
trying to
or
understand the
That
candle.
was
He's not giving himself up to a
no,
higher
no,
power for the answer. He's studying the candle.
no. He's not studying the candle. He's going into a meditative state to an alternate consciousness to stop to comprehend and get an answer.
it probably has
Well,
Thomas
some
meditating
mystic
Thomas
over
beliefs.
something
Edison
doesn't inherently mean I'm praying.
hold on. Thomas Edison did the same thing where he would like sit on a chair holding weighted balls or something so he could go to sleep and contemplate on a problem that he had. I'm not making this up. And you're gonna like that's all like these are some of the great people that we know. Even Tesla would do stuff like this. And then you're gonna say no? Like that's fake? Why so many people subscribe to it then?
There's not so many. You've named 3 people.
You want me to go? You want me to do more?
Yeah, I do. Keep going.
This is the debate of our
All right.
time. I love this. I'm having a-
You're cherry picking. You're cherry picking.
this is
And also, isn't a lot of this stuff hearsay?
No, it's
And you know what though? I don't put it past Thomas Edison. He was such a douchebag. He
How
would
do you
say
know?
stuff like that. Just, are you kidding me?
Do you know Thomas
he
Edison?
meditates
Did
like,
you ever
"Please,
meet
oh
Thomas
God,
Edison?
find me a patent to steal."
No, I believe so so Tesla, yeah, exactly. So Tesla was actually known for that, right? He like preached that stuff. And I think when Edison destroyed Tesla, he was like, well, I do the same thing. This is how I got my ideas.
I would.
How do you know he
ask
didn't
him.
do
That
the
actually
same thing?
sounds. That sounds like something he would do.
Thank you.
To be honest, it sounds like something he would do. I mean, he was known as a world.
Dude, the dude
You're
the
right.
dude was I mean, he was, he knew how to market himself.
He did. You're right.
He was a
100%
super
he did.
smart guy. I'm not, but he
I'll
was there
give
to
you that
make
one.
money and win the war, bro.
I'll give you that one. I'll give you that one. He probably would do something like that. Just make it up.
See
Be
these.
like, look at me. Look at me. I did that too.
See,
But there was
this is what I'm talking about for the fucking Historia podcast, man. This is what I'm talking about. Looking up these things, wondering and investigating and getting the facts out to the people.
but I mean, like, we never
I
know. But
will outlogic you all day.
dude, hold on. There was other people like I think there was like some Indian guy that like broke some mathematical equation when he was in a meditative state. It just came to him like a download. Like there, I mean, like there's. You got to give me time. I'll put out a list. I
No,
can't do it off the
You
top of
said
the
you had
head.
notes and you came with facts.
I'm just saying that the proof is there. I just
I'm
got to
not
get
saying
it.
that a meditative state can't like allow you to make connections that you didn't make before. It's the fact that you believe it's coming from a higher power instead of from within.
Well, the higher power has always been within.
Not according to these guys. Usually they attribute it to God.
Well, God is
Popular
within
opinion, yeah.
everybody, I feel like, right? Doesn't that say that in the Bible?
No, you're made in God's image. The only person God was within was old Jesus. Who,
And
by
I'm
the
pretty
way,
sure,
bro,
I'm pretty sure he preached to
that
everybody.
guy,
I'm pretty sure he preached to everybody. God is within. He said, "Don't look outside for the kingdom of heaven, because kingdom of heaven is inside."
What does it have to do with God?
Pretty much like God is
Isn't
in.
that just him? Isn't that him just saying, "Hey, there's an inner peace. Don't worry about what's going on around you. Focus on yourself."
I mean, isn't God peace?
I'm just saying, like, right? The idea was to be a good person. Don't worry about anything else. That's what Christianity was based off of those stories, right? It was about being a better person in order to obtain, you know, the
Obtain what?
afterlife.
Oh, the afterlife, or maybe a better life.
I mean, maybe at the end of the day, it's just a better life.
Yeah,
God
but a
does
lot of
inspire,
like,
though. God does inspire.
I would say a lot of like these mystics or whatever, they get flashes of, oh, what is inspiration then? Right? You get a flash of inspiration.
What is the muse?
Yeah. Well, inspiration is inspiration, if you break it down, is in spirit. Right? You get like something from a higher being or something. You get that
I'm
flash.
not going to put any stock in words because words are created by humans. And that's what it think about it. Two-
Bro,
2000 years ago, 2000 years ago, they were like, "Oh, must have come from within my spirit, inspiration." And then we just took that word, but we know that's not what it's saying.
It also gets
Then what is
also
it
gets
saying?
messier. It's in like translation, because if you say it in Spanish, this word spirit's probably not.
It's a
even
different
in it.
word. Exactly.
How do you know?
That's just in English. What about in Chinese? You think Chinese has the same root word for inspiration? Tell me right now.
Let's look it up. I mean, I don't know. Maybe
No, I'll do it right
it's
now.
in Mandarin, right?
Please tell me, like, it. I want to know if it is. I hope it's just like, in Chinese in spirit. Like, if you like translate it from, like, I don't know, if you go to North Korea, it's like
Lingan.
in.
Lingan. Let's see what the characters show.
Lingan.
No, God, now I gotta break down the damn characters. Hold on.
Linguist.
This is gonna take me a second. Oh, dude, inspiration is simplified Chinese. Ooh, okay, this is kind of interesting.
Is it the same?
Inspiration. Hold on. No, now it's just a sentence. Hold on. Okay, so inspiration. It has here a person you admire. So like when you say, "Hey, you're my inspiration." So for the Chinese, they pull it from another person. They don't pull it from within, according to their language.
That is interesting.
So now, give me a better example. I just proved you wrong. Keep going.
God or spirit can be related.
But what about
But it's exterior, right? It's not
Sure.
from the spirit. You said it's from within the spirit. You said inspiration.
But if heaven is within,
because I mean like that's really what it means. I mean, like that I feel like
Yeah.
you're reaching.
Based on your culture, and that's where your language comes from, which is your understanding of the world.
Okay. I mean, like that. I mean, no. I mean that is true. I mean, based on your understanding, I mean,
Yeah.
like.
So you can't
then
tie
what
any
are-
factual.
No, we're gonna break it down. Then what are words then?
words are
Labels,
Or
right?
how we express meaning.
yeah.
They're just labels, right? You can pretty much say labels are just a part of the mind, like
Yeah,
mind
they are.
construct, right? So then, what would the world be without labels?
Not very developed.
What do you mean not
Yeah.
very developed? I mean, like
Well, have
we
you ever
live in a
read
world.
Well, like look at like
We live in a world without labels right now. What do you mean? Just don't look at it with labels.
No, I mean,
Just
like,
look
if
at
we
it.
couldn't communicate, we couldn't build society. We couldn't build a civilization. That's like going back to the Bible. That's what the Tower of Babel is about.
It is. It is. I'm glad you brought. No, hold on. No, I'm glad you brought that up too. I mean, like, because like they used to say, right? We all communicated in one language, right?
Yeah.
And then they said like God came over. Here's a theory, right? Here is another conspiracy theory.
Oh, I'm ready, dude. I love these things.
Okay.
Hyped.
So they said this, right? They said like the people that created us, right? They made us a little bit more better than what we would quote unquote the gods, right? Will be called the gods. And that we could evolve faster if we all work together to be more like them and then become a little bit better than them. Because when they engineered us, they took out their imperfections and made us more perfected where they lacked, I would say.
That's a new one.
Yeah,
I'm
I
usually
know.
heard
Okay,
like they made
my
humans
my
more
question would be: they could do that to us. Why couldn't they just do that to themselves?
I don't know. They probably did. Well, I mean, like,
Then
why doesn't everybody use what's it called? Splice or slice?
splice,
The
like splicing DNA or something.
yeah, the genetic mutation, the genetic thing.
oh, you're talking about oh my god,
That
CRISPR,
CRISPR. Why doesn't everybody
because
use
it's not a proven technology. It's jacked up some people.
No, it has jacked up people. You're right. It has jacked up people. But
So I'm just saying, if they had perfected the technology to be like, hey, we're going to create a whole new species
Yeah.
without our imperfections, and I would say humans are pretty imperfect. Why wouldn't they just do it to themselves and just like wait for the next generation?
Maybe they did.
Maybe we are the next generation.
Maybe.
But I'm just saying, like, we always attribute us as being special. That's just a human side effect, dude.
We do think we're very special.
You know what though? I subscribe to the idea that each and every person is valuable. I do.
I don't
feel like
disagree.
I feel like we are special in a way. You have to think
Then
that
why do
way.
we need to derive meaning from some kind of extraterrestrial? You know, you could say I don't discount the idea that hey, maybe they came around here and they kind of like fucked around to see what could happen, but to be like, oh, they made us better than them because they were flawed. Like, I don't give me that. I'm down for the science experiment. I'm not down for them to create something better and more perfect than they were.
Or maybe not better, but more like them. And that if we do become more like them, we would challenge them.
But why would they want us to challenge them?
They don't.
Then why would they make us in order to challenge them?
That would be bad if we're
So we
better than
can
them.
we can mine gold.
But then why would they make us better?
Why gold?
I mean, that's just the story, right? Of the Anunnaki.
Humans like it because it's shiny.
Exactly.
But gold is prevalent throughout the universe. It is
Yeah.
selective, but there's other metals that are way more valuable than gold.
But that's the story, right? Of the Anunnaki.
Yeah,
That they
from a
co-
primitive civilization who worshipped gold because it was shiny and you could make it into stuff.
But then you can't really like when did they start making it into things though?
I mean,
like-
thousands of years ago.
I mean, like that's a very commonality between like ancient civilizations. They all loved gold so much. They didn't even need to communicate to other civilizations or even see them to know that gold is pretty cool.
They knew it was kind of rare. It was shiny. It was incredibly malleable.
Yeah.
And it became a status symbol. It's like, why in Holland back in the day did tulips become so popular?
market speculation.
Right? That's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah. Well,
you know,
I
you can
don't
look
know.
at this crazy. Like, did the Anunnaki come down to say, like, you will grow these tulips for us?
Oh,
And then people were like, oh shit, I got my hand on them fucking tulips.
they're fire.
You know, like that didn't happen.
Ugh.
You know, when they come back from Nibiru, you're gonna feel so foolish when you see that is what they.
It was the tulips the whole time.
It was the tulip the
Like,
whole time.
where's our gold at?
It's like their language, tulips is gold in their language,
I don't know. I feel like platinum is cooler than gold.
I like gold more.
I don't know.
Oh,
I'm not a gold guy.
There's chrome, there's silver.
Silver's pretty cool. I like
Gold
silver.
stands apart to me.
It is a different bronze. Bronze stands apart.
Yeah, bronze is ugly though.
Yeah, but you can polish bronze. Polished bronze doesn't look that bad.
Yeah, but gold is.
It's also malleable. It's also incredibly. I mean, copper. Think about copper.
We could bring bronze back.
I don't think.
I mean, what
bronze back.
Copper is extremely, conductive, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
no, isn't like pennies like worth more than a penny or something because of the copper?
nah, not anymore. There's like barely any copper in pennies.
No.
Yeah, it's mainly like nickel and something else or something like that.
Yeah, it's like how like coins don't have silver in them.
Yeah, exactly.
Tale as old as time. Like they've been doing that
Yeah.
since like the Roman times. Just like siphoning out the actual valuable metal with a fake one.
Yeah.
That's how you devalue.
Or like why
currency.
why didn't they teach us how to make like fiber optics back in the day? If it was, I mean, that's incredibly conductive. I mean, there's so many things that an advanced civilization could have taught. It wasn't until recently that we really saw that explosion, right? Like you look at the timeline, and technology takes forever, and then it's just becomes shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. And I mean, the internet's exploded in the last 30 years.
Yeah.
How long did it take us to do agriculture? Domesticate animals. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's just the progress of human civilization.
They say, I mean, like they say it's like cyber optics.
I'm not saying there wasn't any kind of intervention or something like that. To me, backwards engineering makes way more sense than other things.
Yeah.
Than the early intervention. Like I don't hate the idea of them like crashing stuff and gifting it to you, right? Like what wonder they would do with this kind of stuff. I do that to my kids all the time, right?
Yeah.
I'm like I wonder if they could like use this thing. Let's figure out, and then they they monkey fuck with it. And you're like, look at this idiot down here. Can't even turn on an iPad. And then they slowly figure it out, right? They get a little bit older and they're like, oh, click this button. To me, that makes way more sense than coming down and creating a species in order to mine gold.
But see, here's the thing, right? Because like I used to be so dismissive, but then like you have like the more that you look into the UFO thing, like this is all they talk about. Is like how these beings, like the Anunnaki or the Greek gods, were these other beings that came here to start civilization, and that we just worship them.
And isn't that more like inferred though from like kind of other stuff? I think there's like a fusion of like fairy tales and like what's being disclosed, where people are like making these connections.
All ancient religions have a creation myth. They all have. How did we get here? And
right.
You have people like like in Ancient Aliens. They're just like, what if they're not actually wrong?
I know that. I get that. But the more like this is part of like I do. Like I do. Like but this is like part of like the part of the disclosure. Part of the disclosure, right?
I haven't seen that part of the disclosures.
It's starting to come out. It's starting to come out now. Like they're slowly like leaking things.
Things when I've heard about aliens and what they believe, and it's usually people's belief. And like, I think this is what they're trying to do. It's never been like, this is exactly confirmed or documented about this is what they're saying. It's usually anecdotal, and it's usually something that they believe based on what they've learned. To me, those are two different things. That's not disclosure. That's somebody's interpretation of the facts.
Right. But when you have multiple people, like, I mean, like, unless they're all being like, what was that mockingbird type thing?
Operation Mockingbird?
Yeah, unless it's like that, then I mean, like, I don't know, because like they're trying to like I guess they're trying to disclose like their presence in a way where it's not all at one shock, where it gradually gets people like all like okay, so in the next 5 years, right, there's gonna be a lot of alien movies, and then the aliens are gonna start looking like us, not like weird creatures and stuff like that. Stuff like that. So it gets the collective consciousness ready and prepared.
That's interesting.
And so they're slowly leaking things like that.
Trying to make the
Yeah, I don't think that would be a government thing. I think that would be some kind of like psyop from an actual extraterrestrial civilization that's already been living among us.
Which is scary because you get to that when you get to that point,
I think that's way more credible
but that's
than
what it seems
thinking the
like.
government.
But that's what it seems like is I mean, honestly, that came to my conclusion because like I was always like extremely dismissive of like, oh, these overlords, these alien overlords or stuff like that. Or no, I swear to God. But the more that you go down, like what these people are saying, it's like that's where it's pointing to. Stuff like that.
Overlord's a strong word.
It is a strong word. It is a strong word. And then like when I was listening to that guy that talked to you, that Russell Cohart or whatever, the guy who's like leading the charge. I sent you guys the interview.
Oh,
You
I
know-
didn't listen to it. That was the one. Was that the one Jordan was like, "Why are all your clips like this length of
Yeah.
films or something?" Yeah, I didn't get a chance to listen to that. I was
But he's also, like it's also very contradictory, right? So like nobody like for me, I never heard of News Nation until David Grush came in there and did that interview. Right? And now everybody's like praising News Nation. Like,
Isn't News Nation where Chris Cuomo's on now?
yeah,
It is. Yes,
It is.
Yeah.
That's
But-
where I've
Yeah.
heard it from. Okay.
but I'm saying is like they kind of low key popped out of nowhere, right? And they're the only news people that talk about UFOs. Mainstream media doesn't talk about it, nothing. They're the only news media that does it. And then, they're talking about how these UFOs are going through our airspace with impunity, right? How like no like they can just do whatever they want with the whim or whatever.
I mean, if they have the ability to get here, what can we do?
But then later in the conversation, he says that we're shooting them down. We found a way to shoot them down. Which will
See, that's where you kind of lose me. It's like you have these craft that can travel interstellar, and yet we can shoot them down with our BS weaponry.
that's why I'm saying it's very contradictional because it's like unless
That one's hard to like wrap your
right,
brain
it's
around.
hard because unless we reverse engineered some type of technology that was able to like shoot them down, or my thing is like maybe we know who to shoot down and who not to shoot down, because they also say there's many different other beings that come here and they don't all get along.
Now we're getting into fantasy land.
No, because hold on. Do you think if there was aliens that they will all be malevolent or malevolent?
It's like-
I can't
Malevolent?
speak. I know I can't
Malevolent.
speak to that.
I would hope so, but you never know.
You never.
I would say if they weren't, we would already be gone.
Yeah, and not to mention if they were malevolent, what do we have to offer that they can't get anywhere else? They're an intergalactic traveling thing. It's not like our planet has resources that they desperately need.
Well, no, they would just sit there and observe us, right? That's what they do, right? They just watch us,
Right. That's
like
the only
they
thing they would
like
do.
just like we watch like primates, and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
But then they're not coming here and fighting over us.
Which is kind of another weird thing, right? But then you have all these UFOs that watch over our nuclear facilities. And to me personally, that's kind of weird, bro.
Well,
like,
like,
why
why
do
see
you-
if we're going to annihilate ourselves?
But
Wouldn't you?
then again,
I mean,
but
if,
then
if your zoo exhibit's about to go down, you'd want to know, right?
But okay, but let's say this, right? Say our country is in a war with another country. We're always going to be looking at what their nuclear thing is doing. Like, you're always watching what they're doing or what they have. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like,
Only because we know the destruction that they can cause, right?
Right.
Isn't the whole theory that like they came after they detected a nuclear blast and we haven't had any since? So to me, if anything, wouldn't that show them to be more benevolent than malevolent because they don't want us to nuke ourselves?
Yeah, because if they didn't want us, to
Would you
nuke,
say-
they
would you
just,
say if we
know,
did-
wipe us out?
would you say if we did have a nuclear, like, you think they would stop it?
I don't know. There's only one way to find out. Let's call it Joey B. Tell them to push that red button.
In my opinion, it's just like if they do see us as like a zoo exhibit, wouldn't you monitor them if they're like about to kill each other,
No, you just sit and watch.
or would you intervene?
Well, obviously,
But
We
if you
stop.
didn't
We, I
want
mean, you know, we have species that we don't want to go extinct because they're valuable
them, so we watch them.
to the ecosystem. So we
so
watch
do you
them.
so that would make us special then if they don't want us to be extinct.
Or they just see value. It doesn't make us special, but maybe it's like, hey, they could eventually maybe contribute to the galactic society.
Maybe, or they are the most advanced civilization, and we're just the next one they've seen, and they're just like, man, we really don't want them to like
Yeah.
be alone. And
Maybe there's only
destroy
two of
themselves.
us. Yeah, maybe there's only two of us.
But they said there's multiple species that come here.
But you're just saying they said. That doesn't mean anything. What Jordan said just now could be just as true as whatever
Yeah,
they said.
yeah, you're right. You're right.
And you know
Yeah.
what? Who says it's not the same species? Maybe it's just different tribes.
Yeah,
It- I mean-
yeah.
You know, you're right.
That's what I heard them say.
I hate when people trot out the they.
That's what he
It's
said.
like, every time someone says they, I always picture a TM at the end of it.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, like, okay. You could say the same thing with like the government. Like, it's just, I only say they because it's just easier.
So anytime you say they, you're specifically referencing the government.
But the government is so big.
The US government is so big. What about all the other governments?
They seem pretty big too.
They're not that big comparatively. I think the US government might be the number one employer in the world or something like that.
I think they employ like 4 million people, right?
I
Something.
think it's more than that.
Mm.
Yeah. Name another company who employs millions of people besides the Chinese government.
The Indian government.
North Korean government.
I don't think the employee is a strong word over there.
Are they- I mean, they have like what? A very large military. Those are government, right?
Yeah, but they're conscripted for what, minimum 10 years?
Well, you think it's the same people that was coming here in the 50s? The same group of people that come in here in the 40s and 50s?
Who knows, man? To me, it just doesn't make any sense to have these spaceships that come here and then they evolve over time. It's not like these civilizations can evolve over a time of 50 years because it takes them hundreds to thousands of years to get here. So either, you know, somehow the Stone Age alien society got here in the 50s and now all of a sudden we're getting all these advanced guys nowadays. Like that doesn't make any sense. Like, why are the ships so small back then and now they're huge and crazy? Like back in the 50s,
You're flying soft.
I didn't was able to keep up with.
Maybe those were just scouts, and they were just like, oh, they're primitive. We don't need to do much. But then we're advancing faster than they thought, and they were just like, okay.
But then why gift us?
need to
Send them the
heighten our
big guns.
attention a little bit.
Then why gift us UFOs?
Might not
That's
have
a
been
great question.
intentional.
They say there's okay. I'm not gonna say they, People assume people assume that the US government has made deals with said alien so they can abduct us and study us.
I really
And
want to know who in the government is making these deals.
To be honest, I'd make that deal.
honestly, I don't
I'm only making it if
needs to go up to a spaceship for an advanced boom, and if you're the leader of the free world, I don't know.
you're making that deal all day. Yeah, you can anally probe that dude, but I want a lightsaber.
I want. That is all I want is a lightsaber. If I ever meet an alien, I'll be like, dude, hey, what's up? I just want a lightsaber. That's it.
Let's talk.
Make me a
I will
lightsaber.
give you 3 gem bombs for this lightsaber technology. I mean, you gotta admit, like, as a leader, and if they start communicating with you, you know, obviously, you know, if an alien starts talking to the president, obviously he ain't gonna be on the national news next day going like, "Guess what just happened, guys?" There's no way that's gonna happen. So you never know.
Oh, also in that Russ Coulthart interview or whatever, he put out this accusation that says that former President Trump was briefed, right? And that if he was to disclose anything about the UFOs, that he'll be knocked off.
I mean,
That's a strong accusation.
I feel like if that was true, he would at least hint to it by now.
Here's the thing, though, because people have asked Trump about UFOs, and he would always divert the answer. He says, "I'm not worried about UFOs. I'm worried about China and Russia." That's what he will. That's his go-to line.
That leads me to believe that there's not really anything happening.
Yeah, you also got to remember that, like, unless they briefed it and it was about him, they're like, "Sir, they're coming to, abduct you." He probably couldn't have cared less.
He was probably like, "Are they going to give me a lightsaber?" No, then he's out of.
Also, he's a 70-something-year-old man. He's like, UFO, I don't even know what those letters mean. Like, what about China? Or they're like the aliens, or he's like the illegal ones at the border. Build the wall. But maybe that's where the wall came from.
Maybe that is why the wall.
The wall over the world, dude. It's gonna be glorious. We're gonna be a Dyson sphere before you know it.
Yeah. Anytime anybody brings up the presidents, I'm like, whatever, dude. I don't.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. And I feel like Trump is like that kind of guy where he would at least, if it was true, he'd be like, they didn't want me to tell you anything about this.
The only thing he ever said anything was the JFK assassination.
Yep.
He told him, and he was like, I couldn't do that to the American people, or something like that. Like, you don't want to know about what happened. Like, he said something crazy like that.
Why would he say that?
I don't know, but I'm just saying, if he said that about the JFK assassination, I feel like for UFOs, he would have said something like, I was briefed, but like, trust me, you don't want to know. Instead of diverting, he's not really a diverting guy.
Yeah,
I know he's not, but
he likes like, the attention he'll get from saying something like that.
They have like, I seen the interviews myself where he's like, "I'm just worried about Russia and China."
Good, he should be,
and he should be. You're right, and he should be. But hold on, let's go back to the wall thing, because there's also a conspiracy where they're saying like. They are saying
like
that
at the end of that South Park episode.
They are saying that they're trying to get as many illegal immigrants into the states so they can vote Democrat. How is it like? How is it like?
This has been around for a long time.
Old dude. Decades
but how is that possible though? How is that possible,
dude? They blame everything but themselves on why they lose elections. It's illegal immigrants.
So it's multiple things though, right? It's not just the illegal immigrants. It's them trying to say, hey, you don't need ID to vote, right? Like, they tie all these different things together because it's like, hey, we're the ones who let you in. Yeah. We're the ones who like removed the ID laws. Now you can vote. Nobody's gonna check. You better vote for us, and we'll let more of you in, right? That's the whole idea behind it. I don't know if there's any actual like proof, because anytime I've gone to vote, you have to have an
Yeah.
ID. But
Yeah.
I also don't vote in very liberal areas, so I don't know.
needed to present my ID here in Illinois. They had to know who I was, and I couldn't even vote in the center I went to. I had to be diverted to another.
Because that's what I was
Every
saying
county is
too.
different.
Like, you can't just come into the country a week before election and
But
then be
the-
like,
the-
"Hey,
the-
I want to vote."
The problem is that they'll say it. Not only has the illegal thing been a very long conspiracy theory, they're also just like dead people vote. You know, they go to.
All right.
Then there was the mail-in ballot conspiracy. The problem
Yeah.
is like a lot of these like heightened, the more like psycho part of the right have this thing since the Reagan era called the silent majority, that everyone secretly agrees with them, but they're just not speaking up. And so they like to forward
Which
the
kind of
notion.
happened when Trump got elected.
Yeah, but he didn't win by the popular vote, so there's still no majority. You know, there's majority electorally, but not like the majority of the population doesn't agree.
But I mean, nobody expected that many people to vote for him.
Oh, I had a feeling that he'd win.
No, you did not.
Yeah, I did.
I
No,
had no-
you did not.
I did.
I thought he was going to get
I
trounced.
100%.
Dude,
I 100%. 100%. Thought he would
nobody.
win 2016.
But you know what though? Jordan did buy a hat. I do remember you buying a hat. I do remember you
I
buying.
used it as a prop for like one day because I thought it was funny. I personally like Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, I do
personally
remember.
prefer Bernie
He would wear that hat. My
But-
mom would be so mad.
I don't even have it anymore, but I thought he was gonna win. I thought Hillary Clinton was a terrible candidate, and
She
not
was
to
a terrible
mention like
candidate.
Obama's second term was not that great for the.
I thought she was a
African
Yeah.
shoe in. I thought she was a shoe in. They like the media made it sound like it was
the media made
Aaron.
it sound like she was a shoe in, but she wasn't a shoe in.
Well, so did the poll. So did the polls. The polls
Yeah.
were like, there's no way she could lose.
I stopped listening to polls a while ago.
I think 2016 was the first time where people were like, "Oh, these are really bad."
When do
But I think they were
do
pretty-
polls?
All the time.
But going back,
Like who goes to the polls and just like where do they
No, they
like?
call you. It's all calling.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what they do.
Yeah, it's like a
Yeah,
survey.
they call specific,
you know?
and they call specific areas based on demographics.
Oh, I didn't
But
know
going
that because
back
I'm
to
like,
the
where
whole,
do they?
silent majority thing. So they wave a tail so you can still think, you're still the majority. Most people still agree with you. It's a facade.
You know what though? The more that I dive into it, I think we are literally being run by unelected officials.
I mean, we do have a large bureaucracy that we largely don't elect.
And like, here's the thing too: is like, if you ever look like why did we succeed from Britain, right? Like, what was the main reason?
Taxation without representation.
We had no representation in parliament, and they were taxing us. Literally, that's the reason.
Yeah, for a war we started.
Why? What are you going to say?
No, I was gonna say that. I was gonna say taxes because taxes now is insane.
Well, it wasn't because it was a high tax per se. It
was
was
just-
because we
yeah.
had no
But-
say in the taxes.
Yeah, I mean, like
And if you've
I
read
mean,
like Thomas Paine's Common Sense, why is a big nation like the colonies taking lip from an island?
And, yeah, I mean, like I would have been like, bro, you're taxing me, and I can't even be a part of Parliament. Nah, dude. I would have been like, nah,
Look
dude.
at Puerto Rico right now.
Nah, dude. I would have been like, dude.
Yeah, but Puerto Ricans don't pay federal income tax, so
Mm. Because like the more that you dive down like into like
Washington D.C. is what you meant to say.
Who, me?
Yeah. Not Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is not a great example because they don't pay federal income tax anymore. But
DC.
Washington D.C. still gets
What do you
taxed,
mean
and they have
anymore? When did they stop?
a while ago.
Mhm.
I did have a couple buddies that I work
Yeah.
with, and they were like, all of a sudden they're like, yeah, dude, we don't get federal income tax. It's all
that's why a
just
lot of
Puerto Rican
that's
state.
why Logan Paul went to Puerto Rico.
Yeah, that's why a lot of those guys
That's
did.
why a lot of
Right.
yeah.
And also Puerto Rico is a very exploited
Crypto.
island. It's a very exploited island too,
Yeah.
because
But then, like-
they don't have a lot of those anti-monopoly laws.
And how like so when I was doing like some research on like taxes and stuff like that, And Amendment 16, right? A lot of people would be like, you don't have to pay taxes because Amendment 16 wasn't ratified. I couldn't find any information that's saying it wasn't ratified.
What's the 16th Amendment again?
Basically the federal income tax. And it came in like the early 1920s, maybe.
It was a response to World War One.
Amendment 16
Pretty sure.
It was passed by Congress in 1909
or 1909, right?
in response to this in response to the 1895 Supreme Court case of Pollock versus the Farmers Loan and Trust Company.
But
it was ratified on February 3rd, 1913.
Right. But if you like Ben Franklin, like some of these founding fathers, right? They were really smart when it came to like money and taxation.
They were rich.
And
They were rich.
They were rich, but they also knew that like if you have they were really, how do I say it? Like
They wanted to tax people, though. That's the difference. They just didn't think they had the power to tax them.
Again, taxation without
They were-
representation. You have to say the full.
They were
I-
they were never anti-tax.
Yeah.
it's not like anti-tax, but I guess it's like the interest on the tax, right? Interest is a big part, I would say. Because like we pay, I want to say like they say like most Americans work 3-4 months just to pay interest on the tax.
What
of
do you
the
mean
fed-
interest on the tax? What are you talking about?
Like so, okay,
The interest on our debt?
or yeah, on our debt, the interest on our debt, and where that
That's because the majority of United States citizens do not pay federal income tax.
the majority.
Mm-hmm. It's like 52% pay zero income tax.
How do
You
you
might pay
get
it in
that?
your checks, but you end up getting it back because most people work minimum wage jobs. They end up getting it refunded to them at the end of the year
Yeah. The average. What?
Then why take it then?
50. It's like,
because they got to pay for shit throughout the year.
I didn't know that. Nobody's ever said that before.
People
mean-
say it all the time. What is it? The top like 10% pay for like 50 or 60% of all income tax in the United States.
Well, I mean, like for me, I mean, I don't get nearly most of it back. Not even
Okay.
close.
I pay.
That's what I'm saying. But you also make way above the minimum average or like the median average. It's you are probably in the top 20% of earners in the country.
It doesn't feel that way.
Yeah. Now inflation is a different thing. That's a different beast, right? So
Yeah. Yeah. So they were saying like,
my percentages could be off, by the way. But
I
in
mean,
theory,
no, it makes sense. No, it
a
makes
minority of
sense.
people pay the majority of taxes, and the majority of people, or close to it, pay almost no tax.
Because you hear the argument, right? Like the roads are not good. You hear the argument how like
Our
education,
infrastructure's falling apart. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, but we're all being taxed out the yin yang. We have so much debt, and the thing is like they would say like it's because our taxes go to the interest of the debt, so you can't really knock down the debt.
If you're just
Print
paying
more
off
money.
interest, that's a sign of a failing country.
Exactly, and that's
But I
what
don't
that's
think
what
that's what we do.
I mean. We're at $33 trillion in debt.
I think theoretically, right, is like what they're saying is true, but does that actually happen in practice is a different question.
Well, I mean, if you look at it, I mean, like our debt goes higher and higher every.
It goes, but our debt is mostly to ourselves. We're mostly indebted to ourselves.
Yeah, through like bonds and stuff. The U.S. government's actually more in debt to its citizens than anything else, or people who buy bonds.
So then what's the $1 trillion debt thing? What is that then? We're in debt to
Yeah.
ourselves.
I mean, yeah, a lot of it is. Yeah, I mean, we're still, other countries buy our debt.
Yeah, but then we buy
But-
theirs, so they can't really
Yeah.
pull it because we'll just pull theirs.
Like that's why they sold war bonds, right? It was like people were investing in the government, right? What they're saying, hey, you give us $5 in 10 years, this will be worth $10,
All right,
right?
but then why do they
That's
stress?
interest.
But why do they stress the debt though?
Who?
Like people, they're like, we're like,
It's because it's people who aren't in power because they want to become in power.
Yeah,
Isn't it crazy
it's
how
a talking
Republicans
point.
only care about the debt when they're not running the country? You didn't hear a word about the debt when Trump was in power.
Same about the invasions, the illegal immigrants. You don't hear about them as much. They're talking points, dude. And if you look,
That's all it is.
if there's any like bill to pass to like fix this on the other side, notice how the other side doesn't ever let it pass.
no, I know. Oh, I know that. I know that.
It's a good campaign. It's a good campaign marker, and both sides do it a lot.
But I'm saying is it's like the debt though. If there is a debt, like it can never like that debt can never really be paid.
There's a
Like
good
you
chance
can never.
it's not gonna happen, man.
Yeah, there's no
Yeah.
chance. So like, where do you go from there?
You keep doing what
Who
you're doing.
cares? Like, how's that going to affect you?
Because we
If
got
there,
keep.
if there's no impetus to pay off the debt, what does it matter?
Who's
Then
gonna-
why do they keep taxing us?
Because the government
Because
still needs to run.
Yeah, because we're a huge government. We have huge infrastructure. Everybody wants 5G. Everybody wants the best quality of life. Costs money.
Yeah, and we have to continue world policing.
So why don't they just add it on to the debt and not tax us?
Because you still got to pay for certain things. I mean, things still cost money. Like the
Yeah.
government still needs money to buy things.
Oh, yeah, just put it on the debt. Put it on like the credit card.
You can't pay something off.
They
and
do a
make-
lot of it. A lot of times they just front it and then they pull it back and they're like, okay, could we tax this much? Okay, great. But there's also the national debt and then there's the public debt, right? Those are two different things.
What's the public debt?
It's how much the people owe. I think we had a balanced, like something in the 90s. There's like we
wasn't
reduced the
since
public
Clinton.
debt.
It wasn't.
Yeah, it was something like that.
I know, like, didn't Lincoln do something good with the debt?
Lincoln,
Oh,
you don't
man,
fight
I
a
don't
you don't fight a major war and not accrue debt.
I think he might have died before he could do anything with the debt.
Yeah. That
He
was
got
one of
shot.
the reasons why our debt shot up was because of the Iraq War. I mean, we had a debt in World War One, Two, Civil War, of course.
I know
World War
that.
II, not so much, right?
One of the reasons the revolution almost failed is because we couldn't pay anybody. We had no money.
So they take our tax money and then they send it over to like Ukraine or whatever to buy stuff.
No,
and other
we
stuff.
send them equipment equivalent. We
Yeah,
don't-
They
most
also
of
send
the
money.
most of
They
the
also
money,
send-
most of the money that is allocated for Ukraine is actually spent on U.S. defense contractors. It actually gets pumped back into the economy.
we don't
and then they
get a
send-
check, you know.
Yeah, we don't run up a blank check because they wouldn't be able to do anything with that money. Most of the aid packages, outside of like actual liquidity that they need to like pay people to fight, it just gets pumped back into the military industrial complex. Yeah. Well, all your contractors are making tons of money.
The whole like pro and anti like giving Ukraine money thing is just so badly worded. Because
Yeah,
really
it's
not the whole
poorly
story at all.
phrased. Yeah, most of it's not money. I mean, some of it is, but like the majority of it is not. And actually, there was like some study that came out that says it's actually helping our economy, like, and actually keep it afloat in certain sectors.
Yeah, in certain sectors. I mean, like, all I know is the food prices going up, gas prices going up.
Yeah, but that's not because of foreign aid.
Yeah, that's because we don't. Really, if anything, that's because we're not a net exporter of oil anymore, and we rely on the cartel that is OPEC to price oil.
We don't own our oil.
That was the one thing Trump kind of did. He made us a net exporter of oil, which is why prices were able to go down.
Than Saudi Arabia at home.
I think that was one of the biggest issues with the Biden administration. They were so keen on being anti-Trump, they actually killed things that would actually have kept things going.
That's the problem with any new administration.
It's all politics.
It's a terrible cycle. And it's
Mhm.
usually by a stroke of a pen too.
Yep. That's literally all it is. You can shut down an industry.
Yep, executive order, man.
My thing is like, if we're never going to pay off the debt, why don't we just stop taxing people and then just put everything to that debt?
There's a huge well, I mean, I don't think you can stop taxing people because actually at the state level they still require money, right? They can't print their own money.
Right.
No, then stop
And a lot of the
federal
money that's collected, well, I mean, you have like, you know, it's just the way things are set up that you need it, right? Like Medicare, Social Security, things like that. They need liquidity because that's just how they operate,
Right.
because they invest some of that cash.
Right.
But I mean, like, are they really taking cash?
I mean, are they really taxing you?
It's the same thing.
Then yeah, they're taking cash.
Are you
The question is, do they need that cash?
No, I mean, well, I mean,
I'm
when you
genuinely
get
curious. Are you a libertarian?
no, but I mean, when you get paid, I don't subscribe to labels, man.
You
I
can
don't.
subscribe to policies.
You know what I mean?
You can subscribe to policies though.
What does that mean?
Do you
Does I
adhere
only
to
like certain
more libertarian policies than, let's say, Democratic or Republican?
Honestly, I think politics is a joke. I think it's a joke. I think it's just a way to keep people divided.
Politics is fundamental for society, but you can think like some
I don't think it's
things are
fundamental
jokes,
for
but politics
society.
is a blanket term.
I think maybe we evolved over. Maybe we need something new. I think
Dude,
we're
deciding what to do with taxation is inherently political.
well, okay. Well, I'm just saying it's because like everybody gets their check in their checking account, right? So it's not really like cash in hand. You don't get the cash in the hand and then the government takes like $20 of cash out. It's all numbers and computers. So what I'm saying is, why don't we just keep the majority of the numbers in the computers on our side, and they just take whatever they need and attach it to the debt, because we're never going to pay off the debt, so let it just keep going, but let us breathe a little bit.
Well, going back, you said something about the crumbling infrastructure.
I mean,
That's like a
dude,
nuke to the infrastructure.
well, I mean, why I can't talk at all today. Oh my god.
No, trust me, dude. I came here without any water, and I have cotton mouth like a son of a bitch.
If that would be a nuke, but if that was be a
I
nuke,
see what you're saying. You're just saying, why not just borrow all the money and just say F it and just
Yeah.
pay it?
Right. But then at the end of the day, even if we pay off the debt, then what?
no, I'm not saying pay off the debt. I'm
Yeah,
just saying
like what if? Or what's
if
the
we're
point
never
in paying
gonna
it?
if we're never gonna pay it off, just let it keep like accruing, but let us keep our money that they're taking from us. You know what I mean? Because they're not giving you cash. It's just numbers and computers. They could do the same thing.
But they're allocating that cash that you don't see in the different programs. That's the thing. It's all budgeting, right? It's all accounting.
Which they don't take accountability for. Like they like if they audit, they don't do they audit the government?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
usually pretty bad.
Well, they usually audit different departments.
You should see the Pentagon audits.
Exactly. So I mean, like, bro, if
Yeah,
it's
but the
bad,
Pentagon does so much stuff, like they don't even care.
If
They
they-
don't care. That's why it's just like, oh, they failed their audit again. Anyway,
exactly. So
Because you're not right
why-
on, bro.
Why, if they get
for a
that,
cup of coffee,
if they get that treatment, how come we can't get that treatment?
Because they're the government.
pretty much.
And they're supposed to work for us, right? But obviously they don't work for us.
Who said they work for you?
Isn't
They
that
actually work
isn't-
for the president.
But aren't like I thought this is a democracy. My
It's
bad.
not.
And it's not, right? It's
a republic.
republic. Okay. All right. We vote these people in so they can make changes for us, right? But obviously that's not what's happening.
You're focused too. You're too focused on federal, man.
Well, I mean, the
As
federal's
Chris
taking
said,
our
yeah,
money,
we're a
right?
republic. You should be focused on your state, how they handle their taxes as well.
Yeah, you have a better chance of
The
changing that
federal
than
is
anything
too
else.
busy worried about the states. The states should be worried about you. Local elections are very important. They're the ones who ultimately decide the president anyway.
I don't know. I think I don't know. Like, I mean,
Like a lot of people, like here in Chicago, like blame the president for the taxes, but it's not the president that decides the taxes here. A lot of people just like
California.
to blame the president for everything, but the
But
states
they
have more
decide the
power than
federal-
think.
don't they decide the federal tax though?
But
That's federal.
I mean, no, Congress does.
Congress?
The president doesn't decide the federal tax. Congress and law is what dictates how much you pay. It takes an act of Congress to change the tax code. And usually it's so complicated is why they don't want to go back and change it. They just amend it here and there.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And then
Well-
really at the end of the day, who does the president work for? Does he work for everybody or just the people who elected him? Because if you ask them, it's a different answer, right? Trump is going to say, I am going to work for the people who elected me.
Mm.
Right? He's going to alienate other people.
Mm.
Well, and then you have people who are like, you know, like Obama, who are very good at like poetic justice, and they'll be like, I work for all Americans. But really, at the end of the day, you work for your donors, right? Because everyone's, you know,
Yeah.
You mean the donors? Because lobbies are people too. Companies are people
Yes.
too.
So why
according to
not
the Supreme Court, they are.
Thank
So
you,
why-
Supreme Court.
so why not this then, right? Why not
And a lot of them get kickbacks from the
the
taxes.
why not the federal government just say, hey, you know, we're not going to tax federal anymore. We're just going to put everything that we need and attach it to the debt. But the state can still tax you. And then you could go and do your local government and get them to start reducing tax as well. That would be more plausible. Only because the debt isn't going there's no way we'll ever pay it off. So just if there's
I mean,
no
we
way
could we could pay it off. We could just tax you more. Right? Isn't that how you would pay it off? You just raise taxes.
yeah. But I think
Let's
a
just
lot
do that.
of people aren't going to want that. A lot of
Makes-
people-
it'll make us all equal.
ain't nobody going to do that.
Or why don't you just do a flat tax, not a progressive tax, no write-offs. You just pay your 15% and move on, no matter how much you make.
A flat tax. Everyone pays the same percentage.
But then it would be
Yeah.
like the spending, right? Be like, then people going to be like, what are we spending our
Pass a law that says you can't spend whatever percentage more than you take in. And it must be able to be paid off in so long. Like, it's all law. It's all law. They just don't pass those laws because they're not practical, because they can't actually do it. It's not pragmatic. Because unfortunately, that we learned in World War II, debt spending builds an economy. Wars make economies.
It's very profitable.
It's incredibly profitable. Everybody works because you got to support the effort. And the government just pay all these companies create jobs, and they just start going.
Like FDR's New Deal.
So, but what's
had
next?
good
What's
parts,
next?
But it was really World War II that brought us out of the depression.
But what's next? What's next after when all the wars are done? When's next when all the enemies are done?
War will never be done.
Too profitable. That as
It's human nature.
I mean, what did Eisenhower warn us about?
The Anunnaki, if anything, made us war-fearing creatures.
Here comes Nibiru just coming into our fucking orbit, you know, going like, son of a bitch. You know, maybe they are they. You never know.
Ooh,
They being the Anunnaki.
they being the overlords.
Yeah.
They being the gods, the Greek gods.
The Chariot of the Gods. Pick yourself up a copy now. Just kidding. Don't. It's actually not that great of a book. All right. That's all the time we have left.
That's it? Only 2 hours, bro. Jeez Louise. It was good. It was good.
This is Jay signing off.
This is us.
And this is C Money, man.